To resolve inflation in Europe, for example, I was in Moldova, 30% inflation rate, gas $15 a gallon, Turkey 80% inflation rate, gas $13 a gallon, and I could name places in Europe, from Europe to the United States. Is it that we had
Roughly 300,000 Massachusetts residents are about to get a $500 check in the mail. Governor Charlie Baker's administration said they have already began mailing the second large round of $500 automatic payments to low-income workers. This comes as part of a $4 billion crisis relief bill that was passed. A spokesperson for the state said that all eligible residents will likely receive the check over the next couple weeks, but this round of checks is based on 2021 tax returns and will only go to individuals who did not get a check during the first round of payments. The income criteria has also been slightly adjusted for this year's increases in the Massachusetts minimum wage and federal poverty level calculations. In other words, income limit is $38,000 for individual filers, while a household of 4 can earn up to $80,000 and be eligible. State officials also said married filers could be eligible for a check as long as they independently qualify. And now the IRS has shared some important news. More tax forms can now be amended electronically. In addition, taxpayers can also make amended returns electronically if there's a change to their filing status or to add a dependent who was previously claimed on another return. In a statement, IRS Commissioner Chuck Reddick said and called the new initiative an important milestone. He added this new feature will further help people needing to make corrections. It will also assist the IRS with its inventory work on the current backlog of amended returns. That is another tool we're using to help us get back on track, he said. During the crisis that shut down the agency's offline operations, the IRS still managed to deliver millions of stimulus payments in 3 rounds, then reconcile those payments during 2 tax sessions. The IRS also created a system to send advanced child tax credit payments to families in need. Yet the strain of those new tasks has highlighted the agency's deficiencies in customer service, which predate the crisis. In the 2021 filing season, the IRS received 167 million calls. Many relate to its backlog in processing returns, but the agency only answered 9% of people looking for assistance. Well, big news here, everybody. Residents of several states will receive a huge relief payment from their state government. Up to $1,500 can be claimed right now by many low-income families. New Jersey residents seem to get the short end of the stick this year as far as property taxes are concerned.
Meeks, who is also the chair of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, it's good to see you. And I know you'll hear a lot of probably political stuff going back and forth. But the American public is trying to understand the language of which we're talking today so that we can really understand what inflation is. Fact of the matter is, I just recently was over in Europe. There's inflation in Europe, just like there's inflation here. Although, as I talked to Christine Lagarde and others, they say the cause of the inflation may be different. So if the causes are different, they said that maybe demand here, but not a case of demand there. Is whether it's the supply chains, the China shutdown, complete shutdown, the zero COVID policy, Russia's war in Ukraine, COVID period. Isn't just a massive storm of everything is what contributes to inflation and causes it all over the world?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty good description.
It's a little bit of everything, right? So if I'm talking to my constituents, trying to explain to them what inflation is and what causes it, I would not single out any one thing. I would probably have to talk about the conglomerate of things, because if you take away 2 or 3 of those things, we might not be in the situation here. All of it unprecedented, all of it really out of the control of anyone, out of control of Democrats, out of control of Republicans, out of control of the president, out of control of other governments. Is that not correct?
So some of it is out of our control. For example, the price of oil and most of the price of food. And to your point, Europe has it's much more about energy and food prices, very difficult problems. And also they, of course, have the European Central Bank has different countries, which and so they have to worry about the spreads between different countries, and that's a different challenge that we don't have here. The difference here for us is we actually have a very strong economy and well-recovered economy, and so more of our inflation is from demand, and we do have tools to deal with demand. That is the place where we actually can work, and that's what we're using our tools.
And some of that was because during the crises that we had to do certain things, stimulus and other things, to make sure that we kept our economy stable. I mean, if without doing those things, we would have been in trouble. So the things that we did going through COVID, the stimulus, trying to make sure people kept their jobs or kept money coming in at the time, was what we had to do. Otherwise, we would have been in worse shape or not have as strong economy as we have now compared to other countries. Is that not?
A new bill has been proposed that would help and provide many Americans with a $400 stimulus check, everybody. You want to be sure to continue watching this video to find out how to receive it. So these payments could be received by next month, and California Governor Newsom has not been hesitant to send out more crisis relief money to people in need in the state of California. And with the federal enhanced child tax credit reverting to its original pre-crisis payment of $2,000 per kid, the latest state-initiated benefit program that Newsom could authorize would target the state's most vulnerable and economically disadvantaged people. Los Angeles Assembly member is proposing to use some of California's $97 billion surplus to help support the state's low-income families. And per marca, one-time payments will go to the state's poorest and those making under $30,000 a year. The proposed Assembly bill recommends expanding the current child tax credit to administer a payment of $2,000 per child. The bill also proposes extending the California Earned Income Tax Credit to raise the minimum amount from $1 to $255. According to state officials, the bill passed through the California State Assembly on May 27th, now rests with the Governance and the Finance Committee. Newsom has already announced an $18 billion package aimed at relieving inflation for struggling Californians. The proposed relief program would include $400 checks to all eligible registered vehicle owners in the state. The proposal comes as drivers face record gas prices. Newsom said we enacted the most comprehensive economic stimulus program in the nation last year, getting billions of dollars in immediate relief to Californians. Many folks are still struggling, especially with high costs due to inflation. And so we're leveraging a historic surplus to get money back into the pockets of Californians. Other areas of financial relief include public transportation and childcare for low-income families. Newsom's plan would offer these services for an even further subsidized rate, if not free of charge, for a limited time. A further $1,500 in relief checks is also proposed for hospital and nursing home staff. A new minimum wage will take effect in California next year, an increase caused by inflation. The California Department of Finance said they project inflation for the 2022 fiscal year will be even higher than the year before, causing the increase. The governor has also announced that Connecticut families, everybody, can soon apply to receive a state tax rebate of up to $250 per child for a maximum of 3 kids as a result of the recently enacted 2022 Connecticut Child Tax Credit Rebate that he signed into law earlier this month. The governor told reporters, in addition to making groundbreaking investments in childcare, crime prevention, and caring for our most vulnerable, the budget that we just enacted provides relief, specifically targeted for lower and middle income families with children. Any Connecticut resident who claimed at least one dependent